Welcome back to the second half of All About Money. Let's continue the conversation with our guest today, who just launched her blockchain media startup at the Hong Kong FinTech Week last week. Still with us is Angie Lau, ForkastNews chief and co-founder. Angie, let's continue the conversation about your startup, ForkastNews. Just tell us, since you're producing content about blockchain, it also kind of means that you believe in blockchain, but you're also doing journalism. So can you tell us how you're going to keep your reporting about blockchain unbiased?
That is a great question, because the problem is, when it comes to blockchain, 2017 was the very example of where that biased reporting, or that inability to be able to discern from real news and news material or content that drove up excitement on ICOs and really cheated people out of their money. And it was that kind of environment that existed that really dragged down blockchain industry as a whole. Now, when I arrived in blockchain, I really came to it as somebody who was thinking about how the underlying technology might be used in communications. When I looked around and tried to learn about it myself, I couldn't find anything. The videos that I saw on YouTube certainly is not anything that I would trust or that you would trust. And also the ability to be able to explain a complex idea or issue, very, very difficult. And very few and far between in terms of the quality of the content. Now, I am not saying that my fellow journalists aren't doing a good job. I know they are. And I know that they are so committed to telling the best story. But what I also am very aware of is that my fellow journalists have deadlines, and that they don't have a team of legal experts and coders and data scientists and blockchain veterans and specialists to tap into or trust. They don't have that crew. I also know that in newsrooms, sometimes it's not just one story. It's two stories. It's three stories. I did a Blockchain 101 lecture today, if you will, at the Digital Media Asia Conference to a room full of media executives and journalists. And predominantly, the one thing that they said is that even though they are increasingly fielding more and more emails, pitches to them about blockchain projects, the only way they know how to handle it is to ignore it. It's just too much noise. White paper is essentially what every blockchain project relies on to communicate its story. These are 30 to 80 pages long. Unless you know how to read a white paper, or even have the time as a journalist, as you are trying to produce your show, as you are trying to call up your guests, as you are trying to discern who are the credible voices and who aren't, are you going to be able to discern between the 2 million startups that exist a year that the one that you pick is credible, the team is credible? That's why ForkastNews is also a resource for journalists, because it is that credibility and that you will find our voices there. You can see very clearly the words that are coming out of my mouth, and you can judge, Isabel. Did she ask the tough questions? Did she ask interesting questions? And you can be the judge, in the same way that you can judge the responses of the CEO sitting across from me. Is that valid? What is that they're talking about? So, do I say that there is credibility there? That's all ForkastNews is about. We are that credibility that just doesn't exist the way that myself and our entire team sees it. There's so many people so enthusiastic about this as a platform, including so many people from the blockchain industry, because it's like finally a platform on which we can stand.
Now, I see it's interesting because you're actually tapping the media space. To many entrepreneurs out there, it's obvious that they might tap digital banking, hard fintech, just, blockchain, not media. Why media?
Isabel, it's what I know. It's what, they say if you've done something for 10,000 hours, that you're a master. I have probably done 15,000 interviews. in my journalism career. I don't know what that makes me. Probably, somebody who just, knows how to have a conversation and knows how to draw the best and knows how to ask those insightful questions. And that's what I know. What I also know is that I'm excited to be in this space. I think more of us women need to be in this space. I think that the media landscape right now doesn't have enough of our voices. And we may be the pretty faces in front of the camera, but we also have brains and we also have insight. And we also have something to say about how we shape the media for the future. That's why I'm in this space. And I really thank you for giving me the platform and women like me the platform to say, I am not just a woman and I am not just an entrepreneur. I am a visionary and I'm a leader and I have something to say and I have an entire team that are equal in this vision, equal in this passion to be more and to be better.
So in terms of your team, is hiring female talent one of your priorities? And what are you doing differently to retain more or attract more female talent?
So I have to say, my co-founder and I are both women. But I will not hire you because you're a woman. I will hire you because you're the best at your job. And I will hire you not because of your skills. I hire you because of your passion and your heart and your vision. If you believe in the future of what we are building, then you should join us, man or woman. And I think that as a leader in training, because I'm new to this, but as a leader in training, what I do know to be true is that you must empower your people. And you must infuse your spirit, but you allow that spirit to iterate together.
So I know that it's probably true for every entrepreneur when they decided to start their own business. They see existing problems in the space that they are tapping. So you tapped the media industry. What kind of existing problems did you see in the media industry that need to be improved?
So I think the platform needs to change and evolve to find the audience. That's number one. The problem as it exists today is that essentially nobody is really doing this that we're talking about at ForkastNews, certainly not at a level of quality and credibility that needs to exist. So we just see white space. And what we are doing is hoping that when we build it, that others will also equally see the value in what we are doing and saying. Because I don't think that we can do it alone. This is not a movement that exists by ourselves. The power in this is amplification. The power is if this conversation stokes or empowers somebody else in the audience to go, you know what? I do want to learn a little bit more in a different way, and I demand more. And then that evolves the conversation to a higher level that I hope that we will all have a year from now.
I know that you're very busy preparing for the launch of the platform, so you've been doing some interviews with some key industry leaders. So what kind of trends have been repeatedly talked about?
Sure. The trend is that 2018 has been a bear market, and that a lot of people are very concerned about how the industry is perceived, that how they're going to fund their projects. We've seen the migration between ICOs and STOs, okay? We have also seen and heard more and more regulatory bodies coming in and seeing what had happened in 2017 with essentially a lot of companies proposing an idea, raising money, and then essentially, an initial coin offering, which is the blockchain equivalent of an IPO, raising that money, and then never coming through with a product, and leaving all of those investors in the lurch. This has put such a stink on the industry that we have Ashley Alder of SFC making keynote remark at Hong Kong FinTech Week, talking about the need for regulation of exchanges, crypto exchanges in Hong Kong. These are issues that are unfolding now. But in 2019, I think that it's going to be a level playing field once again. We're going to shake out all of the unpleasantness of last year. And 2019 is going to be a space where institutional investors are going to feel more comfortable coming into the space, that regulators are going to see that they need to be in this space. But of course, the evolution of that conversation must exist together and not unilaterally. Right now, it feels very unilateral. That's the problem for the blockchain industry. So how do we find ourselves having a conversation with each other? Some countries are doing that right now, not every country. But I think that's changing for 2019.
Angie, thank you very much for your time today. Always a fascinating chat with you. That was Angie Lau, Forecast News Chief and Co-founder. This is it from this edition of All About Money. We'll be back right here on HKIBC next Sunday. Good night.